on stage our next panel for the agenda, Digital Citizenship, Empowering Students to Focus on Opportunities of the Digital World. For this, I would like to call upon our eminent panel speakers, Dr. Jawahar Surisetti, Advisor to Government, ED, Rungta Group of Institutions, Bhilai. Next, Mr. Kuwar Shekhar Vijendra Sir, Co-founder and Chancellor, Shobhit University, Meerut. Manoj R. Thakkar Sir, Chairman, International Institute of Management and Technical Studies, Ahmedabad. Nilanjan Kar, Chief Revenue Officer, Harappa. Dr. DNS Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Sushant University, Gurugram. And Professor Dr. Vikas Singh, Vice Chancellor, ITM University, Raipur. I request you all to please join the stage. I would like to call upon Dr. Jawahar Surisetti Sir, Advisor to Government, ED, Rungta Group of Institutions, Bhilai, to enlighten us with a few words. Jawahar Sir. Sir, please. Sir, could you enlighten us, please?
Good morning and a fantastic welcome to the new normal. I am Dr. Jawahar Surisetti. The session, the panel discussion, we have an equal opportunity, I think. So I think we should not waste time here on the podium. We should be discussing a lot of things. But having said that, I think we've been pushed into a situation where digital is the way forward. Maybe it can be hybrid, whatever. But I think there are some things which we need to ponder upon when we discuss here, is that I'll give you an example. Most of them lady teachers, when they teach in school, and they have gone online, and the etiquette of a parent when a child is in front of the camera is something that is missing. The digital etiquettes, if we are calling. So there is a man with a vest who's sleeping behind the child when a lady teacher is teaching, is something which is very shameful to the teacher herself. So some things that we'll discuss today are things like this, that digital citizenship is okay, but do we set a platform of rules, regulations, etc., apart from the many other things that we'll do? I think we'll rest here. Thank you very much.
Really a pleasure to start panel discussion in this physical real world. We have been engaging in lots of panel discussions over last almost year and a half, and the panels were all virtual. I would say the level of engagement, the level of information sharing was no less, but as Kumarji said in the initial address, that being in physical world in this way is the one which we like the most. The higher education of India, which is third largest in the world, has been tremendous in adapting to this changed reality. Prior to the pandemic, only 3% of higher education was using the online digital platform. From 3%, in no time, I would say, we moved from 3% to 100%. All 1,000 plus universities, 50,000 institutions, 25 lakh higher education teachers. In spite of all the odds, all the challenges, each one of them successfully became digital citizens. Now, the students were already having a lot of acquaintance with the digital platform. They were using Snapchat, they were using Instagram. They were very acquainted, comfortable with digital platforms. But yes, the commendable part is that teachers became digital citizens in no time. So this panel discussion is basically to discuss the opportunities which are going to be there, because this learning is going to stay. We are not going to go back from 100% to pre-pandemic 3%. So we are going to stay somewhere in between. As Dr. Mittal also discussed, we are going to have some blended flipped learning. So what are the challenges? What are the opportunities in this digital world? This is going to be the discussion in this panel, and I request all the eminent panelists to please introduce themselves for 1 minute and share their thought on what are the opportunities and challenges before young students which are now digital citizens. So can we start with Kumar sir, please?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Digital citizenship and empowerment of our students in the digital world. So in the topic itself, a word is coming twice: digital, digital and digital. So, I have to introduce myself. I am Kumar Shekhar Vijendra. I am the Chancellor and co-founder of Shobit Deemed University Meerut and Shobit University Uttar Pradesh, which is in Saharanpur. And I believe that many of the people, those who are sitting here, we know each other. So, when this topic of digital etiquettes, as Dr. Jawahar has just mentioned, that we have to have some rules, regulation, or the opportunities, what opportunities are there in the digital world, they have to be discussed today. We have two universities, one is in Meerut, one is in a small town of Western Uttar Pradesh. When I look at this word digital, I see a digital divide also there, which generally we are not talking sitting in Delhi. When I see that what opportunities are there, I look at challenges also, what are there with this digital world, what we are calling new normal, or we are telling that the world has changed and a hybrid mode has to be there, blended mode has to be there, that we have to see. I was just trying to identify that what is the most important resource in our classrooms. If I talk today, everybody is talking about edtech, gadgets and whatnot. So if it is textbooks or computers or the new technology to make our classrooms digital, these are the most important resources. If you ask me, for me it is not. It is not. For me, the most important thing is something very collective, the diverse imaginations of our students, observations, opinions, hopes and dreams. Why I am telling all these things, everybody knows that. Because when we discuss about how these digital opportunities we have to give to our students, we have to ensure that the most important intangible, what is there for what purpose, these classrooms, these universities, institutions, everything has been made that is addressed properly. And to address that, we can use all these digital devices, gadgets, whatever is there, as one of the assistant. Yes, they are there. This new normal, what we are talking, I see it as temporary, but whenever there is a disruption, new creation will be there. Definitely a lot of things have changed. We all have changed a lot. But that change, now we have to see how optimum we utilize, not limiting it to that what rules regulation we make to see that how people behave. My concern is that from teaching now we have shifted to learning. And that learning has to happen with our teachers also, and it has to be, now teachers have to be co-learners, and in this journey of co-learning, how we can use this digital world, digital device, new normal, that is the most important thing what need to be discussed. So thank you very much. For now it is enough, I believe.
Yeah. I can request Dr. Kumar also to please.
Good morning to one and all. Myself, Dr. D.N.S. Kumar, Vice Chancellor at Sushant University, Gurugram. Sushant University has 8 applied schools, and we are in the process of trying our best how we can digitalize the education. And I fully endorse one of the concepts which earlier speaker mentioned. The professors have to be the co-learners. Friends, when it comes to digital citizenship, although opportunities we see when we go to disrupt something, but at the same time we do have challenges. The basic issue that we have to understand, are we prepared to address those challenges? Digital citizenship cannot be taken up, executed, unless and until we are consciously prepared to make investment in digital infrastructure. During the last 16, 17 months, we have understood digital means online classes. Digital means providing all kinds of gadgets to the students, engaging other stakeholders who were easily available to us from the corporate sector or maybe from collaborators. I understand digitalization of learning. That learning should give total solution to the learners, wherein that solution should ensure, in addition of assuring, a Atmanirbhar among them. They should be able to venture into startups, consulting, advising. Instead of mentioning what can be done, what are the few things which we have done in the past? It's not that we have not done. We have done. Let me give some example. I am professor of finance. We created a software in 2005 itself. And this software was on the concept economic value added, a concept by Stern and Stewart, a great consultants in US. And wherein this software, we coined it as a FinSoft. An executive sitting at the helm of the affairs, maybe a managing director or a CEO of a company, who without depending on the production manager, on the marketing manager, logistic manager, at his desktop only he should be able to get all the analytical reports. At one point, at the entry level, if you feed the data, 30 to 40 reports in which executive is interested, he should be able to get. And this we got it done with the help of the students of computer science and students of finance. We providing a facilitator role. Students started understanding back end how coding has to be done, how the reports have to come in different colors by giving an explanation, and all these reports should emerge automatically. when we start building with the help of digital platform, this kind of platform, the hope starts emerging among the learners. At the same time, we did one exercise, and this exercise is not that we educational institutions started, it was started by Industrial Policy and Promotion, Department of Industry and Commerce, Government of India. When you go to their website, on the right-hand side you see an icon, DGTD, Director General Trade and Development. We asked the students, refer that website and find out all excisable products, what is the market available across the globe in terms of value and volume also. And where is the gap? And these students started generating the report, analyzing the report, and providing to the business houses. And as a result of which, not only students got into entrepreneurship mode, but also businesses started getting benefited. As I get some more opportunities after my other co-speakers speak, I'll give some more examples how we can bring a real disruption in the education with the help of digital. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar. Now I request Manoj ji to please introduce himself and share his thoughts.
Sure. Hi, my name is Manoj Thakkar. I'm representing IIMT Studies, International Institute of Management and Technical Studies. I had India and the UK. Well, about this digital citizenship, I have sort of similar thoughts indeed. The universities in India, the way we have transformed ourselves from classroom education to digital education. This has been a very tremendous opportunity for all of us to explore something really new that we were really looking forward to since last many years. When in my understanding, when I say about educating our learner, I think it is a challenge today. Why it is a challenge today? Because in early times, when we were educating our learners, it was for some hours, whereas at this moment, there is a proportion, there is a percentage of the entire program that we would be educating to our learners, and probably they would be learning entirely digitally. Not only that, as in the earlier session, as Dr. Pankaj Mittal ma'am mentioned, that there are the contents available on internet. So the faculties would be expecting to deliver something much more better than which is available on Google or on any other search engine options. So I think there is a huge need of our faculties to be trained very, very, very well. How to represent our contents, how to ensure that the learners would be deriving something very different than what is available on internet. Now this is something very crucial situation here where exactly our students are being confused. Why? Because the same thing is available. Our faculties need to have some more techniques. Our faculties need to have some more engaging opportunities for our learners, because ultimately everybody is on camera right now in front of us. So this is the first time for myself indeed, we all are being together here, and that's a great opportunity indeed. The same way, the physical sentiments makes a lot of difference. That is what I understand. Secondly, our learner is really required to understand what exactly they should be going through, what exactly this is beneficial for them, this is not something they should be touching on internet. So there is a huge literacy where we need to make our learners learn about, which would be additionally requiring a lot of efforts and a lot of content development. For example, trainings, for example, new policies. Our regulators working very fantastically these days when we talk about this new normal and digital education. And to summarize this specific point from my side, in my understanding, there is a huge need, as our, our panel mentioned, there is a huge need of investing in LMS, the digital infrastructure, because there is a huge demand for all our learners to ensure that what exactly they are going through, the way they've been learning everything in the classroom, the same way they have something very luxurious, something very specific, something very important and to the point, which really relates to the syllabus, which really relates to the engagement of our learners. So there is a huge need of investment in the artificial intelligence as well. That is, I believe, would be the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Manojji. The point of digital divide raised by Kumarji has been touched upon. Like digital divide is at all the three levels. Like digital divide is at the level of institutions, as Dr. Kumar said, like regarding the development of digital infrastructure. Digital divide is also happening at the level of students. They are not having, some of them are not having this inequality is now very much in our eyes. Some of them have good equipments, tools, some are not having that kind of digital connectivity or the tools. And also what is raised by Manojji regarding the digital divide at the level of faculty members. Are they properly trained? Are they enthusiastic to engage the classes? And this divide is also, very, very crucial to be addressed. So digital divide is there at all the three places. Now I request Nilanjanji to please share his thoughts on this topic, sir.
Sure, thanks. Hello and good morning, all of you. I represent Harappa Education. Harappa Education is an online learning institution. We are talking about what we called Thrive Skills. Thrive Skills are an essential set of cognitive, behavioral and emotional skills that we believe is going to power the economy of the future. At the core of everything that we're going to be doing are these Thrive Skills. And we are a very, very young institution. We are about 5 quarters old. Our beginning was in the quarter of Q1 2021, which is April, May, June 2020, and that was our beginning, and our first quarter revenues were 0 at the beginning of the pandemic, not surprisingly, right? But through the pandemic and over the last 5 quarters, if you take out that 1 quarter, in 4 quarters, we have had the great opportunity to work with roughly about 35 institutions, many of them are in this room, and about 71 enterprises. Some of them are global, many of them Indian, and of eminence. So what's working and what's changing really, right? Let me take a couple of examples. So we are working with world's biggest IT organization, Microsoft, right? And what are we doing with Microsoft? We're teaching communication skills to 50 of Microsoft's chosen Asia Pacific leaders, right? Chosen Asia Pacific leaders, and they are all in the age group of 40 to 45. We're teaching them communication, we're teaching them writing effectively, we're teaching them speaking effectively. Now, do you think they don't know that? I mean, they're Microsoft's leaders, and they're Asia Pacific leaders, so and they know how to write, they know how to speak, right? But they're coming back to Harappa to learn speaking, to learn writing in the new business world, right? You've heard about Disney, right? It's again a large media organization globally. What are we teaching them? We're teaching them leadership. Disney is with about top of their 300 global women leaders. So we're teaching them women leadership to people across their offices across the world. Now, they have, it's a fairly diverse company, Disney, and they have grown their women leaders over a period of time. But they're coming to Harappa to teach and understand what women leadership is and how it is different from, if I can use the word, male leadership, right? It needs different set of skills. It's very future perspective, and there is a clear future view in terms of how what Disney wants to build in the organization as a cultural, from a culture perspective. We're teaching managerial excellence to ITC, right? Now, ITC has been the big one in India, right? I mean, do you really think that Mr. Deveswar has not built managerial skills in their managers? No, he's built, he's created an empire out of them. But what's really changing on the ground is, if you look at anything that these large corporations are doing, and they're coming to Harappa, they didn't know Harappa last year. They're only knowing Harappa in the last 12 months. And they're coming to Harappa. They're lining up to take up an Harappa course. And the reason they're doing is it's not about managing communication. It's not about communicating. It's not about writing. It's not about leading. I think what they're essentially telling us is, tell us how do they write, how do they read, how do they lead, how do they manage in a transforming world. And I think that's the change that they're wanting to see. The world is changing very, very quickly. And it's changing very rapidly, very fast, right? VUCA, we talked about in the morning, right? Rapid transformation, all of that, right? So the whole context of reading, writing, talking, presenting, communicating, all of that is changing very, very quickly, and therefore that's why Harappa is kind of possibly becoming very relevant, early days yet, right? So if you really look at, and why am I telling this to this place? And the context is very clear, that in colleges and universities and institutions of today, if we are to build leaders of tomorrow, we will have to teach them management. We will have to teach them technology. We will have to teach them data science, AI, machine learning, coding, full stack, medicine, all of that. But if you really want to set them up for success, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, across their career cusps, they need to be resilient. They need to be adapted to change. They need to be able to facing transformations. When these people go out of your colleges, of the universities, they should be ready to take on the world. They should be ready to be able to drive that change in the organizations that they join. And that's what possibly where the symbiosis with Harappa really comes in, right? And that's what we do. And like in the earlier session also, we talked about flipped classroom and the whole thing around that. It's so relevant because content is everywhere. I mean, there's content flying around. In this room, possibly there would be some lakh plus years of content in this room itself. So is anyone really looking for content? No. If anyone is teaching content, then we are fooling ourselves. I think what we are doing is we are basically teaching context. We are helping people understand the context and therefore be ready for the world where the context is going to be more important. Content they will figure out. Leave it to them. Kids are intelligent enough. They will figure out content. कहीं ना कहीं से उठा लेंगे वो. लेकिन give them the context, give them that rod to kind of hold on, and they will face it themselves. That's what we're trying to do at Harappa. Happy to kind of talk more. A couple of my colleagues are here in the office, in this room itself. If you want to know more, happy to chat with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Niranjanji. You highlighted the importance of affective and behavioral learning in addition to cognitive, and the importance of leadership, understanding the context. Now I request Jawharji to share his thoughts on digital citizenship.
Good morning and closer to afternoon. I am Dr. Jawahar Surisetti. I am the advisor to the government and a New York Times innovator. So what we are discussing today, I completely agree to the need of the digital literacy in the current world. But also, when we are discussing, we should discuss what can be the pitfalls. The first thing is access is a double-edged sword. Access is one way beneficial because the IIT, IIM professors or Stanford, Harvard professors are available to us digitally, which earlier we were not able to get. The other side is 37% of India does not have access to internet, does not have access to mobile, or there are single mobile phones, or there are no smartphones, something. So 1/3 of India is devoid of this advantage that we are getting. So we'll need to look into that. Google has been called by the government of India. Google has come up with an innovation which says that we'll come with a balloon which will link to the satellite, and in a 2 square kilometer radius, that balloon hung in the air will be able to provide internet in to rural or mufassil areas where it is not possible to digitally reach. So there are innovations coming up to reach to 1 lakh villages. This is what the government is planning. The second thing is, as I had mentioned earlier, like we have citizenship of India where we are ruled by the constitutions, there is a legal framework, there is a court, there is a police. Similarly, there needs to be a framework under which digital citizenship works. Otherwise, Netflix and Amazon Prime go scot-free without censorship, and all the big screen films are censored. So there is no equity in what we are doing because of lack of rules and regulations for the digital citizenship. The third and important point is that there will be privacy issues. There will be data theft. There will be loss of money because of this data theft. So it's not a very easy thing. All of us are registered on Arogya Setu without knowing how safe is it. And similarly, day in, day out, young boys and girls register or download apps giving their data without knowing what are the issues that it can create. The fourth and last point that I want to make is that digital citizenship with all that we have is a great equalizer. So if it is an equalizer, then there is an issue also here that there are two generations of people. One generation which is the consumer, which is the students, and there is one generation which is the giver, which is the teachers and parents. Unfortunately, if I don't know something, I used to go to my father or teacher to learn that. Now the parent would come to the child to learn digital literacy. So the challenge here is that the generation which is at the teaching end is lower in terms of technology skills than the receiving end. This is some anomaly that we will need to figure out how to do better. And I think that's a challenge which we'll need to sort out from the institutional side at least. We'll need to sort this out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jawahar. Looking at all the anomalies which are there, still the higher education students, they are all having their social media profiles, they are on various platforms. The next question to the panel I would raise is, how educators, teachers can train the higher education students to leave a good digital footprint? What are the practices that they should adopt to become better digital citizens, better professionals, to come across more confidently to the companies, recruiters, while they are available on the digital platforms? Can I request Dr. Kumar to please start sharing the idea?
Well, that's a good thought with which you have opened the discussion. You see, as I mentioned earlier, if we have to create that Bharat, which is the Atmanirbhar Bharat, in addition of creating the context, providing them the content, how best with the help of doing the experiments, attitudinal formation can be established among the learners. We may provide the information, but if they are not implementing that information, as I mentioned earlier also, today we have to encourage good entrepreneurship. We should not produce the learners who will do the job. The job can be done by carpenter also, the mason also. We have to encourage the students, rather learners, how they can do their career and profession. That requires a hands-on experience. If that experience cannot be created on campus, we have to get connected with the corporates, court halls, hospitals, whatever the experiments which are going on there, with the help of technology, should be able to showcase to our students. As I gave you earlier also example, another experiment which I did in my earlier organization. I had a project from Government of India on gems and jewelry. And in Karnataka, there are two belts. And those two belts are Mangalore and Bangalore, which are known for gems and jewelry. But the skilled people who are there, the items of gems and jewelry, with the help of traditional skill only they were making, and they were addressing the market. They were not in a position to reduce the waste. They were not in a position to design the new designs for the gems and jewelries. We tried to tell them how best you can encash an infrastructure, a free infrastructure which is available for you, up to 60 crore rupees from industrial policy under the scheme, Industrial Upgradation Scheme. But they were not knowing the technology how to use. And we pushed there our design school students and the professors, wherein we were also not having that high-end technology. Under the cluster, they bought the technology, our students started learning, our faculty members started learning, and they started designing the new gems and jewelry products. Similar exercise also we did in leather. You all must be knowing, leather chappals are very famous in Maharashtra, that to a place in Kolhapur. But these chappals are not made in Kolhapur. These are made in one corner of Karnataka. And all these cobblers, they used to make maybe 100, 200 per day, bring it to Kolhapur, wherein large number of people visit Lakshmi temple and sell that much only. We introduced the technology to all those cobblers. Now today, 95% of the production that happens, supported by the students of Shivaji University, Kolhapur, they market outside. So today, from the educational institution side, what is more important is how experiential learning we can create. Hands-on learning experience we can create to the students and also connect them to corporates, community, government machinery and all. So that's my call on this question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Can I request Manojji to please share?
Sure. Well, good morning again. So, well, Dr. Kumar mentioned experiential learning would really be required today. And I also have an opinion. Dr. Jawar just specified about IITs and IIMs. Probably in the digital citizenship, when I really see the situation these days, the international contents are also coming here in India. There are many other institutions, private organizations, private institutions, they are coming forward with many content. So probably what exactly the reason behind them coming in India, is that the only market attracting them? I would probably say no. The universities, the institutions, I think, they have started competing many great institutions, not only in India, but many other countries as well. So what they have tried doing is, they have tried enlarging their scope of teaching their faculties first. So what they did is, in my understanding, they have done more quality analysis than the institutions going these days. So probably this is something that every institution and university would be requiring to do. More quality analysis on your content, more quality analysis on your resources available with yourself, and more you would be able to target the market, more you would be able to penetrate the market percentage you have. So probably this is something I would certainly say. And I also had one more point to think. I was just, discussing about while people were discussing. But yes, I would rest my comment right here to just specify on a very brief note, specifically on this point, the faculties and the quality assurance facilities the institutions have, which is not, I'm not talking about the classroom quality assurance, of course. I'm talking about the digital citizenship, the digital education systems. So that is something which is required to be reformed. So this cannot be just on the regulators. Let me be very specific right here. Regulators are extremely fantastically doing. They're doing the job. What is left is with the private educators, the university, the institutions, and of course with the faculties. They will have to groom themselves as well. They will have to understand what exactly the new techniques that we will have to have in order to teach our learners. So that is only from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In the first round of discussion, importance of context, soft skills, behavior, attitudinal skills, came out, and of course, light on inequality. Here, what we are more discussing is about hands-on experience, hands-on learning for students as well as for teachers. Maybe Niranjan ji can throw some more light on this.
Sure, no, thanks. So, I think there are two sides of it. Like, what we teach and what students learn, right? And I think एक क्वेश्चन हम कर सकते हैं कि स्टूडेंट्स सीखेंगे क्यों सीखेंगे व्हाई वुड दे लर्न दे कैन अफोर्ड नॉट टू लर्न राइट एंड इज देयर करियर देयर फ्यूचर यस दैट्स राइट बट they can afford not to learn unless and until we create the environment they might not learn and many people don't learn right so the importance and the responsibility is on us to create the environment so that they learn right and I think and that's important because learning is going to get disrupted. In the last 18 months, learning has got disrupted. We were used to teaching learning in a brick and mortar world within the 4 classrooms. That has changed to, everybody who didn't know how to operate Zoom has become Zoom experts these days. So we all know how to operate in a online environment. But I think the world is going to get more blended for sure. I think even when things come back to some sense of normality and normalcy, I think it's going to be more blended. And therefore, the challenge is how do we empower and enable students to learn in this digital world, which would be a lot more blended, right? And that's going to be the challenge. So, look, I think I'm not going to be sermonizing, but I'll tell you what we are taking a very practical view of this at Harappa, and so we are an online-first company, and therefore we've created a best-in-class learning platform that will help students learn and all of that. So all of that is done there. People are learning from that. But fundamentally, what are the 3 changes that we have driven, right? And there are many large universities and colleges in India that has adopted online learning libraries from some of the US companies, right? The large US companies, they're very, very big. They're global. They're all over the place, right? But, the question that we are asking ourselves is, if the learning is happening in India, and if the learners are sitting in India, and the context is going to be Indian, that context of that Indian learner is not going to go away. The person could go to US tomorrow, could go to UK tomorrow, could go to any part of the world, but he's going to take that India along with him or her. That is not going away, right? So therefore, when he's learning in India, why should he learn global best practices from a US MOOC provider? And therefore, I think Harappa came up with this whole perspective of creating large e-learning programs that are based on an online first and an Indian first methodology. The pedagogy is very, very India first, which means that the content that we talk at Harappa is, you learn what a Virat Kohli is doing as much as you are learning what a Michael Jordan is doing. You learn what L&T is doing in India as much as what you learn Facebook is doing in US. You learn what an ITC is revolutionizing in India as much as what maybe a JP Morgan is doing in US, right? So Indian students, needs to learn what's great in India, what's working in India. There are some great stories in India, and that's what we are trying to kind of bring together for India and in India and for Indian students, right? So what people learn is what they get attracted to, they want to learn, right? And therefore, I think that's one is a deep philosophy at Harappa that we believe in. So that's helping learning, and therefore the responsibility of why would they learn, if they need to learn, if they feel attracted. I think if they get attracted, they will learn. I think that's one clear thing. The second thing is, I think from a content perspective, you would see most of the e-learning large online players, they actually have zero point of view on education, by the way. I mean, they could be film producers, they could be large steel factory owners, but they are not educators. And therefore, the responsibility of educating people must rest on educators. And that's what we are doing at Harappa. Harappa is founded by, by Mr. Pramod Sinha, who's kind of founded ISB and Asoka and so on and so forth. And therefore, that whole element of learning pedagogy and owning the content and building everything from our own home is very strong to Harappa. We don't aggregate content at all. There is zero aggregation at Harappa. Everything that we teach is created, built in India by Indians, by some of the best minds, global Indians. So these are not Indians, they are settled in India, but global Indians, right? So that's, when you bring all of this come together, you bring great content, you bring great context, you bring great platform, and blend it. So this just not online, but get master classes, get live elements. That's when people learn. I think that creation of that whole environment for learners is important for learning. And that's, I think, it goes a long way in terms of why people learn and how people learn tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you, Niranjanji. Very nice thought that education is responsibility of educators, and students learn what they get attracted to. In his first remark, Jawharji mentioned about access being double-edged sword. He mentioned about inequality. Sir, the question, if you can answer about what is the right, digital etiquettes, digital profiling, what both students and faculty members need to do so that they come out, on digital platform with more confidence, more ready to take on the challenges.
This is very relevant in the sense that when I know what are the rules to play with, I play the game better. So it's like a Javed Miandad who plays unorthodox equally effectively, but a Sunil Gavaskar who knows the game and plays the longevity of Sunil Gavaskar is much higher. So when it comes to the students, first of all, the digital footprint of students is greater because of the consumption, more consumption than the teachers. So it is the students especially, who can get reckless at times because of the odd hours of consumption of internet that they do, which parents usually complain about or teachers usually complain about. So the first thing that needs to be done is, one, sort out the privacy issues whenever you are leaving a digital footprint somewhere. So you should be careful on whom you are giving your data to. The second is a very important thing of social media, which we use for education also these days, is it is a risk a lot of times if not used properly. So suppose I am coming from Mumbai to Delhi with my family for a vacation. I post on Facebook coming from Mumbai to Delhi, and next day my home is robbed because everybody knows that I am in Delhi. So the usage, or you should only post on social media what you think you would love to see. The very simple rule is, only if you love to see something, post it. The third important thing that students, especially in the colleges, should look at is the usage of social media in such a way, because all employers these days are looking at your profiles, social media profiles, because it gives a reflection of your thought process. If you are able to reflect something that is positive, so that the employers see what you want them to see, that is how you should use the social media. Your usage of social media, if it is reckless, might land you up with no job. The possibility in future is that with the kind of digital usage that we are doing, this is a very high possibility. So be careful on what you post on social media. The last thing is that teachers, when they use digital media, maybe they might not be as technologically adept. But if they are using innovation, like we've done one Edutakshari during the lockdown, And it was an innovation because everybody was locked down in the home and they were not having access. They were in the four walls. There were a lot of mental health issues coming up. So we said, hey, let's do Edutakshari. Edutakshari is the families sit together. We started with 1,000 families and it reached 11,500 families. We used the digital media. So the first is that I start with some song, Mai Nimai Munde Rupitirak Bol Raha Hai Kaga. Ga it stops. So the first child picks up, he is in college, not an issue. Pick up whatever word you think in your college syllabus is there or in your school. Gandhiji, let's say. He talks two sentences about Gandhiji. His family can supplement. Gandhiji ends with Ja in Hindi. The next family takes up Ja and sings a song with Ja. The letter where it ends, they take another word. So it was a fantastic experience. Every Sunday, 3 hours we used to do Edutakshari. Such innovations, if we are able to teach, if we are able to do with our students, one, it's engaging as he had said. Second is educators are leading this. And third is that the student finds it experiential and interesting. So I think judicious use of digital media and careful use of digital media are two of the major factors which can win this war against COVID and with the digital that we have.
Thank you. This Edutakshari, is a very unique concept which we learned from you, sir. Digital footprint is there to stay. If there is one bad comment, if there is one, bad incidents, then the digital footprint stays for quite some time. To manage your digital reputation becomes a big challenge. So one should be very careful. All faculty members, students should be very careful while using the social media profiles. Now I request Kumarji to share his thoughts on digital footprint and the etiquettes which faculty and students can apply to come out as good digital citizens.
Thank you again. As the flow of the discussion was very diversified and we spoke about everything what can be there in the digital world. So I will just quickly like to take few of the points which has been discussed. Dr. Jawahar was talking about digital etiquettes, which is very important from where this word digital footprint came. Yes, whenever there is something new, we all have to learn about it. It is just like that one fine day when a country decided that from left-handed they have to drive right-hand. So there were so many accidents by the best drivers also. And we have to have that framework which is required. But with that framework, when we are talking about digital citizenship, it means it is a global citizenship. It cannot be limited to a country, to a border, because digital is limitless. Whatever rules, regulation, infrastructure, resources we are talking about, they have to match the global thing. When I come back to the universities, to institutions, we have to understand that application, as experiential learning was mentioned, that has to be there because at the end, if we look at last few months, we all are very happy that we are able to deliver digitally. But we are forgetting that as educational institutions, we have not only to deliver, one, we have to create knowledge. Then we have to integrate knowledge. And then we have to see that application of that knowledge happens. And here these digital footprints or digital world can be of very much help. As Dr. Jawahar also mentioned, that when I talk about creation of knowledge, for example, yes, access of the best of the people is available to us. I remember inviting a person from UK or US to the campus was a big project. Now it is few calls, few messages, and he is in. That is happening. But that has to be used in that manner that new knowledge is created. Integration of knowledge, multidisciplinary areas we were not able to work. Because if Shobit University is working in X domain, so we were working in that domain. So more transparency, more availability, more democratization, it has happened that now we are in position to integrate so many things and we can give what a student want to learn. Because generally we start that so many things are available, maybe he will go wrong. I always say, so many things are available, maybe he will get an opportunity to go right. Maybe what he was learning was not fit for him, it was not desired by him, but he was forced. Because he came to Shobit, he was learning what Shobit was teaching. Now he can learn from so many things. And application part. So many internships I am seeing, online internships, so many possibilities to connect are there. They all are there. So the world is changing fast. Digital citizenship has to remain with us, but we have to understand neither it can be limited to a country, to a thought, to a university or institution, and we have to be very positive with every change. We have to see when cognitive skills were talked, yes, we have to. I always speak that whatever we are teaching to our student, that may remain with them for few years initially for their first job or second job. But what will remain, what at Shobit University we are doing, we have established a school of gumption over there. And at UPES, where Professor Sunil Rai is sitting, they have started a school of life. He was mentioning me. So with 7C, I will stop, and I believe you must have heard it from me earlier also. I always talk about that in digital world, we have to see how we can create more curiosity in our students, how we can give courage to our students to experiment, how we can develop compassion in them to bear and to behave properly and to love each other, how we can give them skills to communicate better, how we can give them a skill to collaborate better with the world, how we can develop calmness in them using all these digital tools, and how we can give them a commitment to be a better citizen of this new global world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, I would request, because we have heard so much, knowledge and applicable things, some things which can be applied immediately. Once you are back to your campuses, you can take this learning there. Maybe have a round of applause for all the panel members sitting here. So, and I had a couple of more questions to discuss, but the time is not going to permit us that. So may I request all the panel members to share one thought on how faculty members can make the class more engaging, more participative, and how they can use the digital technology in a more effective way. One thought from each of the panel members on this important question.
We as academic fraternity members, we have to be highly intensive as far as our research is concerned. And we have to create a new world of opportunities for our students and also for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Manojji, please.
I think quiz mechanism would be much more helpful to engage our learners, I think. That is what I have a thought.
The only request I have to all the teachers, I'm not a teacher actually, is from teacher become a learner. And once you are a co-learner, you will enjoy this journey of digital world.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, Niranjan
Okay,
ji.
I will I can talk from a skill perspective, right? I think the single most important skill for our faculty is the ability to give a feedback. I think everything else remaining constant. I think the ability to give a feedback is what distinguishes a good faculty from an average faculty to a not so average faculty, right? And I think that's one skill. If you can master, then that would be good.
Dr. Jawahar, please.
See, lack of emotion is a characteristic of digital platforms. If our faculty can put in that extra effort to bring in emotion, we are doing something on that. Suno Kitab is something that we are doing. And second is richness of thought is something that the faculty will need to bring in to better the education that we are into right now.
Thank you so much. So, if I quickly discuss the takeaways, because we still have 1 minute, sir. I think focus on context more than content. So it means building the leadership qualities. Then investment in digital infrastructure, investment in faculty training, and then learning the tricks of the trade or the rules of the game, as Jawaharji said, to be Sunil Gavaskar rather than Javed Miandad for a long inning. These, I believe, are the main takeaways from this discussion. Thank you so much to Chandan and his team for giving us this opportunity to share our thoughts on becoming a better digital citizen, digital leaders, both for institutions, all these stakeholders, I would say, institutions, universities, students, as well as faculty members. Thank you. Thanks to all the panel members for their lovely discussion and thought sharing. Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much, everyone. I would like to request Professor Dr. Vikas Singh to provide the facilitations to our eminent speakers. Firstly, we have Dr. Jawahar Surisetti. We have Kuwar Shekhar Vijendra sir. Next we have Manoj R. Thakkar sir. For next we have Nilanjan Kar sir. Next we have Dr. DNS Kumar sir. And I would like to request Dr. Jawahar Surisetti to present the felicitation to Professor Dr. Vikas Singh. I would like to thank all of our eminent speakers for their guidance. I would like to request that all of you to participate in the lucky draw organized by Zebra. The forms are in front of you. Kindly fill in as we go on and provide the lucky draw in the evening, and you could get real beautifully designed headphones. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Peter J. Silan for the industrial presentation on reinventing the learning experience for the new normal.